Hello, welcome to the EP7 podcast. You are here with Rachel Donovan and the founder of EP7, Mr. George Helou.
Thanks, Rachel, and thank you for joining us. We love talking about how to get the heart into everything we do to get a lot out of life.
Whether it be relationships, business, careers, you name it. So, let's get started.
Oh, love is in the air. Do, 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 do.
That's one of my favourite songs.
But no one wants to say it. Do, do. No one wants to confess how they feel. Well, that's not true. Lots of people are happy to say I love you.
Yeah, that's right.
But we're interested in the ones that can't. Isn't that right, Rachel?
Yes, we definitely are. For some reason, it's really come up lately for myself, not just in a familiar relationship, but with friends, have spoken to me about how their partners can't say I love you or don't want to. They may say, for example, she says I love you. The guy might say, me too. So that's as far as he'll go. But he can't say the actual 3 words. And another girlfriend, similar thing. He's never said it to a girl and he just feels like he can't. And another example was someone else said that they only ever want to say it to one person. So they were holding on to saying I love you for one person and hadn't said it yet. And there's other examples, but they're the 3 ones that sort of come to mind recently. And I think that's a really sort of interesting situation.
Yeah, obviously it could be a lot of things going on there. One of them is that they just don't love you.
Well, I was going to say that's definitely column A. They just don't love you.
Yeah, column A. They don't love you.
They just don't love you.
They may never love you. Or maybe they just don't know what love is, or they may have this interesting idea of what love is, and therefore to them, that's not it yet. That's not it. So they're holding out for that magic boom, explosion, fireworks in the sky, unicorns and rainbows just everywhere. I don't know what they're waiting for, but it makes you wonder, what is love, doesn't it? Like, for someone to want to say it or not want to say it, what does it mean when you say I love you to someone, Rach?
I think it's a vulnerable moment. It's a way of becoming closer to someone, recognise, like if you feel it and then you sort of say it, it's sort of the verbal is recognising that.
Yeah. So it is vulnerable.
Yeah, and it's that vulnerability then that increases a bond.
Yeah, but like, what's the intent behind I love you?
What's the intent? As into wanting to express, to let your partner know that they mean a lot to you?
Okay, so, but anyone can say you mean a lot to me. I think about you all the time. I love spending time with you. I can't imagine my life with anyone but you. These are all nice, but they're not the same as I love you, are they? What is it about this special golden key? The Willy Wonka golden ticket. What is it about that?
I don't know. Have we been brainwashed by Hollywood or in a Disney movie or something? Maybe there's nothing. What's the big deal? I don't know.
Maybe the context of I love you is to say every part of me wants to be with you for the rest of my life, and the words I love you are my way of saying that that's where I'm at in the way I feel and think. And maybe every other forms of expression are painting little bits of that artwork, but the true message is to say I love you, because that almost locks it in.
Yeah.
That might be a reason why people are afraid of saying I love you then, huh? Because it means they're committing the rest of their lives to you in the way they say I love you. But a lot of people would say I love you because they just feel so connected and they love being in your space and they just like everything about you. They think you're wonderful. And so it's easy for them to say I love you. But then you might have a fight and break up and then they feel great about the next person and they say I love you to them too. So I wonder if it's a very personal thing, what we load behind the I love you. And it seems to be men are more afraid of saying it.
In my experience, it is, but I know it doesn't only work that way.
Yeah. I mean, I've experienced an ex-girlfriend actually struggled to say it. So when she said it, it was almost nerve-wracking.
For you?
For her. I was just in shock. I said, that just come out of your mouth?
So you had said it to her and she didn't say it back?
Me saying it to her, I felt like I was able to say it easily. Like it wasn't a big deal for me. But I remember it being a very big deal for her. And actually, sometimes she'd even say the opposite, just to be clear.
What would she say? I hate you.
I don't know. I don't love you. In other words, let's be clear, I don't love you, like in love, you know?
Yeah, right.
But then she would flip and then say she does. So obviously there was a bit of a mood swing going on.
Yeah.
Not the most stable of ex-girlfriends I've had, but it definitely showed me that people can complicate the I love you.
Oh my gosh, you just read my mind. Because I was just going to say, I think possibly it's something that's people overthink. If I say this, then it means that, and then that might happen, and then I'm committed, and then I think it's all this stuff has been built up. Whereas for me, in my personal feeling of it, I feel if I feel it in my heart, if I feel it in my body, I want to express that and I want to say that. I don't feel like I want to hold on to it because that feels unnatural. And I've been in a situation where I've said it to a past boyfriend and he didn't say it back, but I didn't feel, actually was okay with the fact he didn't say I don't love you to me, but he just but he didn't say it back. But I was like, I didn't mind because I was like, I just wanted to say it. I wasn't saying it for him expecting to hear it back. It was with no attachment. It was just, I just wanted to say it. And once I did, I kind of felt free and it was fine. And as some other girls I know, they begin to struggle because this relationship with him was only a few months, but for people that are in a longer term relationship, like plus a year or so, and they're still not hearing it back, that's when it starts to then become a problem.
What do they say in response when they say, I love you? What does the guy say in response to them?
One of them, it was just, they said, me too. So it's sort of like agreeing, but it's just not just saying the words. And the other ones would just seem to be, they wouldn't say anything, maybe just sort of smile or which kind of suggests, that maybe they didn't love them. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we know that one category is they just don't.
Yeah.
It's nice to be around you and they're wondering where it will go kind of idea. But they just definitely, it probably isn't easy for them to even allow themselves to feel connected to someone else, maybe because they're hurt. And so they're naturally closed. So when someone else is allowing themselves to feel for them, that kind of puts them in an awkward position because they're not feeling it yet. They probably don't even realize they're not allowing themselves to open up and feel it, but they don't want to hurt the other person. So now it's a dilemma. Now they probably dread hearing I love you because it's going to put them in an awkward position where they have to say me too or smile politely, which means, I don't want to tell you I don't love you, and would you mind letting this moment pass as quickly as possible with my awkward smiley face?
And you know what then my friend was saying as well, that what would happen is that she'd feel like saying it and then she would stop herself because she's like, oh, if I say it, then it's going to be like that. And so she started to kind of hold back. That's sad as well, isn't it? Because that person starts to hold back from expression and feeling free, and it puts a bit of a wall then in between them, or.
Yeah, but Rachel, why don't they talk about it? Like, why can't we just say, I don't feel comfortable saying I love you all the time because you're not comfortable reciprocating, because obviously that's not where you're at yet or whatever. So I'm thinking it's probably a good idea that I don't put you under that pressure, and I really understand you're not there, and I have to kind of come to terms with that and maybe curb my enthusiasm. I think you should have that conversation.
Definitely.
Also, it makes you wonder how much we're in our heads with where the other person's at. in the relationship. It's funny. It's like we'll allow ourselves to feel what we want about them, but for some reason we won't tune in to how they truly feel about us. It's like we're in denial. It's like we're afraid to read the little nuances, little behaviors that show they're not really that into us.
Yeah, that could be the reality that we don't want to face.
Because for them to say it out loud, it's a nice confirmation, but doesn't their body language and their tone and their choices of conversation and how they react to your affection, doesn't that overall kind of give you that experience of whether they love you or not? You know, I reckon there's a category for people who actually do love you that just are scared of saying it.
Yeah, I was going to say what you just said there, and about if they're gauging on their actions and behaviour, if that is of a loving nature and you feel that and it's, you know, demonstrative in that sense, then you could just, exactly, say they're just really not comfortable saying it for some reason, but I feel the love. But if it's not like that, if their tone is a bit funny, if they're a little bit cool or, you know, then you'd perhaps be looking down the road of they maybe aren't feeling it.
Would you say that if you said I love you to someone and they got it, they didn't say it back, but they actually felt more comfortable around you, they felt like they wanted to be more generous, more affectionate, that was probably a good indicator that they actually love hearing it from you and they're just a bit scared themselves reciprocating, but they actually must love you too because they're not threatened by it?
That's right, yeah. And I think it's a pretty brave step of people, you know, to say that. And even if they're not going to hear it back, you know, it's quite, because you're putting that is a sort of a vulnerable place. And you're taking a step to perhaps make them feel comfortable and let them know that you love them and bring down the wall to open that potential bond to grow closer together. So,
So if you understood what I love you truly means, then you can start to understand why someone would use it and why they wouldn't. And then you can feel like you're more informed in the relationship. But I don't think we have that conversation in relationships. We don't actually take a step back and say, what does I love you mean to you?
Yeah, because it's all about the meaning we have attached to things, isn't it? Yeah, you're right.
So, Rach, when you say I love you to someone, you'd be happy to spend the rest of your life with them, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You see, that could be scary for someone. But then that's awkward because if you're happy to be vulnerable and open up and be willing to create a lifetime with someone, and they know that that's your definition, which means they're holding back, it means they're commitment phobic, doesn't it? I can't say I love you because it may deceive you into thinking that I have intentions to want to dedicate my entire life to you when I'm not clear about that yet. And it's almost as if they are so honourable. Yeah, they just want to never lead you down the garden path kind of thing, yeah? Which is wonderful, except that they're choosing to spend all their time with you and you're enjoying quality time together and you have a lot of interests and everything connects really well. Makes you wonder what they're looking for, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So if you don't hear I love you, I personally am a fan of the I love you because I think we should be expressing what we feel. So I'm with you on that. I get it. And if someone isn't feeling it yet and you're thinking, surely with what I'm feeling, we should be there by now, then you may be facing unrequited love, right? One-way love. And that's not fun for anyone, is it?
Yeah, I think there gets to a point where perhaps you're patient and I feel that they love me and they care for me and, you know, the feelings could develop, you know, not going to rush it. But I think there would be, and I wouldn't put a timeline on it, but I think you would sense, you know what, if it's not getting anywhere now and perhaps we need to seriously talk about what the future holds.
Because on the other side of things, you get a lot of guys and girls, I'd imagine, who say, I love you, but they just use it as a manipulation.
Yeah, or lip service, just, yeah, absolutely.
And some of them may even be abusive, and then they're apologizing and saying, I love you, crying their hearts out.
Yeah.
But yet they're abusive moments before, and then they're back to being abusive moments later. So it just goes to show you how personal I love you truly is. When you engage a relationship, I think it's up to you to tune into how that person uses I love you for themselves, and then probably ask why, and get to the point where you're so connected with the meaning that now when they do say it, you're actually receiving the intent of why they're saying it, rather than you filling in the gaps. Like, oh my gosh, he wants to spend the rest of his life with me because he said, I love you. You see, you made it clear your I love you is serious, and you're not afraid to be vulnerable and express where you're at in the relationship. So, Rachel, for you, if a guy couldn't say I love you, what would you do with that?
I think I would, depends how long I've been dating. And so I wouldn't want to, if it's beginning stages or early-ish on, like I said before, I think it would be a matter of sort of being patient, seeing if, they're just taking a bit more time, and that's fine. But it probably would come to a point eventually where I would want to ask them, how do you feel about me? So it's not even about then, do you love me? The question isn't, do you love me? It's how do you feel about me? Gauging and get them just talk about their feelings, and how strong they are, and go from there.
And what if they're giving you all the right words, but it's not sounding convincing?
Then I would say, do you not like saying I love you?
And what if they said, no, I don't?
And I'd say, okay, why is that?
Because I feel like I'm committing and I don't want to let you down. I feel like I can only say I love you to the person I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. So I need to hold out until I'm 100% sure.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do with that? If you've been going out for a year or a year and a half, what do you do with that?
I find that reason a little bit like love is sort of some commodity that you've got to ration out. And that doesn't make sense to me. Like, I love a lot of things. And, so I don't see it. I'd like to think love is more of an abundant thing, not in this little thing that you have to wait and hold on to and only say it to one special person. I think that's also a bit of a romantic idea. And for me, if I say I love you, it doesn't mean, yes, you are the person I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. It just means at this point in my time, in our stage at where we are, I love you.
But Rachel, I got the impression that that's what you were meaning early in the conversation.
I meant there's a possibility that, that could lead that way, but it's not saying when I say I love you, it doesn't mean I want to marry you tomorrow. It just means the way I feel about you is that I love you.
Yes.
But I think then as a relationship develops and when maybe values start to change or situations change, you can still love someone and decide, or things just don't work out. And there was that period in your time. But it's different to me when you actually stand up and you make the commitment, whatever sort of marriage or ceremony you have, that's a definitely different commitment than just saying I love you.
Yeah. It's like they load I love you so much with the fear that what comes packaged with it is the guilt of letting someone down, the entrapment of committing to someone prematurely, the misery of a future where you're in a relationship you don't want to be in. Like, gosh, that's scary. I don't know about you, but I love you starting to resemble the Grim Reaper.
That's sad.
Well, it is sad because you load what's meant to be a pure expression of an authentic connection.
Missing out.
Yeah, it's to say I so dig being connected with you, and I just love being in your space and doing great things for you. And obviously, it's meant to be mutual, so it just flows both ways, and that's love. I find it interesting that even the people who fear saying I love you could be generous and kind and sweet and fun. They're delivering the entire package. But that bow on that present, you're just not allowed to put the bow on. They've given you everything in the box except the bow, because the bow is dangerous. It's quite interesting. It just shows you how much we complicate life.
Gosh, so true. So true.
You know, we're born this precious little baby without no prejudices. Doesn't even know what culture it is. Doesn't even express a personality yet. It's ready to be anything and everything. It grows up loving the connection with family, you know, the parents and then their siblings and friends. And it's all about love and connecting and enjoying life, sharing and receiving, all of that. And then it gets to a point where it all gets complicated. Suddenly, there's not enough. You have to compete for friends. You have to protect yourself from love, because now love can hurt badly. We definitely lose our way. The moment someone rejects us or abandons us, we lose our way, because now that loss is so traumatizing. We move into the next relationship and love is almost scary. But because we're lonely and isolated and we can't do without it, it's like we're stuck between a rock and a hard place. So you're in the relationship, you're enjoying the company, but your heart won't let you open up fully because of the previous broken heart. What makes people so resilient, Rachel? Why is it that some people bounce back and they're ready to love freely and deeply, while others turn into hermit crabs, where they crawl into a relationship, but they've got a neat shell right there for them to get in there whenever things get a little bit too confronting or vulnerable? It's more about loving them and their fears and doubts and probably creating a journey for them to grow with you, right? But when those people who are so afraid of love that they complicate it, maybe we owe it to ourselves to not be contaminated by that complication. And it takes a lot of self-worth to hold yourself steady, to see what the other person is doing without emotionally going on a roller coaster inside of you and no longer seeing that it's their fear, their doubts. You see, whoever runs from fear is the person that's the weakest. Hands down. You don't run from love unless you feel weak and vulnerable and scared. And allow them to be that. Have compassion. It's not a nice place to be when you run from love and you find yourself lonely and isolated. Fear commitment all the time. But this is probably a message to all the people out there that are getting their hearts broken and they're wishing that their hearts aren't broken that much, like that hard, and the recovery is so bad, which we covered previously. I think now that I love you is a key. And sometimes we have lots of keys and maybe we love it as a golden key for us and maybe it's a rusted key for them. And I think we need to go deeper behind the key and find out what's really going on, because the odds are you're going to find fear and weird definitions around what I love you means. And so maybe we got to meet in the middle somewhere, huh? So to our listeners, we actually love you. We love connecting with you, don't we, Rach?
do.
Because we're all in this world together. We're all trying to connect and be great for one another. And we're trying to overcome the obstacle course of self-doubt. And, you know, I see so many clients that struggle with their worth. And when you dismantle all the reasons that are holding them from their worth, all those reasons are despicable and crazy. So, yeah, it's hard not to love humanity when you see how we do it tough, wanting so deeply to be loved and to love, and it being a lot harder than it can be. So, yeah, don't be afraid of saying I love you, but be clear about the intent behind it and connect to your partner and find out why they say or don't say it. And let's go deeper. Let's stop skating on the surface of words, yeah? Because there's enough people saying I love you that don't mean it, as there are people that do. As many people who don't say it that love you, and just as many that don't say it and don't love you. So isn't that interesting?
I think you've summed it up really nicely there. Good.
Maybe we can edit a lot of the ramble that got us here in the beginning. That's cool.
Well, thank you very much for joining us and listening to our podcast. And we'd love to hear thoughts. Please hop onto our Facebook page, EP7 Official, and share the love. And we will talk to you soon.
Have a great one. And remember, we love you.
Thank you for joining us on another EP7 podcast. If you liked what you heard, remember to share and subscribe so you're notified of every podcast released. If you have any questions or would like to connect with us, please jump on the EP7 Official Facebook page. We'd love to hear from you.